If you are single and you are participating in one or all three of these actions we're about to react to, it might explain why you're still single.
Tell him I got the juice.
Let me give you three reasons or three things that will keep you single. They were like, dog, doc, that was fast. I said, no, it doesn't take long to figure this one out. And I said, you tell me if I'm wrong. I said, but let me preface what I'm going to say with this, that what I share with you, just as I'm sharing this video, this conversation and narrative is only for healed people or people who have a desire to be healed. Most of the content that I talk about on my channels, most of the work that I do in my work is with the goal of people becoming healed and whole. If you don't have that mindset, a lot of what I say will literally make no sense to you. I shared that with them. They said they understood. We got into it. I said, this is the issue. I said, there are typically three things that keep people single. I said, number one, if you're being passive aggressive. She was kind of taken aback. He was just looking. I said, instead of us talking to people when we meet people and sharing to them what we like, what we don't like, what we expect, what we don't expect, we tend to shut down or ghost people because they can't read our minds.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So what does that tell you, right? What does that tell you? That we need to what? Instead of assume, communicate. I'm done.
I said, in any of these encounters you've had with people, have you from the start told them how you like to be dated, how you like to be courted, the things that you expect when getting to know people? Ironically, they looked at each other and said, no. I said, how did I know? They said, Doc, are you psychic? I said, no. I said, but the reason I know is because we live in a culture where people are quick to shut down, ghost people, walk off, not respond, ignore people. Instead of, because they do things that we don't like, instead of just communicating from the start, this is who I am, this is what I like, this is how I like to be dated and courted. Here are my expectations when it comes to dating and courting me, and setting those expectations. And if people can meet them, great. If they cannot, then it can't be said you weren't straightforward in the beginning. You weren't straightforward and honest. And if people don't give you what you expected or need or desire that's reasonable, you have a case to move on.
Straight like that, yo. Like for real, for real. I feel like it could all be just more simple than maybe what we're frustrating ourselves trying to play this guessing game, and it's kind of crazy. I'll share this part because for me, it was a problem in the texting. Like everybody on social media will tell you, hey, you need to read between the lines. And if they're doing this and doing that, then you need to do this and do that. All these crazy tips, man, in the dating space that are just so bad. And is literally what's keeping so many people in a cycle of poor relationships and not finding the person that they really want to build with. And for me, I had to break that. Like I've had to continuously and continue when I catch myself in that space of almost jumping into a space of overthinking and assuming like, if they're not responding or this and that, then that must mean like, nah, because we have to come back and just look at the stories we're telling ourselves. Like, who told you that? Right? Has it already been communicated that this is the reason why the responses aren't happening? Or is this the reason why this, that, and the third is taking place? Like, we have to come back to places of truth and facts and not take those same truths and facts and turn it into unreasonable stories, trying to read between the lines, man. Like there's too much going on and too much understanding to get to allow that to rule your relationships and literally keep you from having wonderful experiences with people. And so I've had to break from that and continue to grow from that personally. And I think that nails it right on the head.
I said, let me give you a second reason since I'm on a roll. So the second reason why people are single is because they're immature. Instead of setting boundaries and expectations for people about what you want or you desire, what we tend to do is we make assumptions about them.
Preach, Bishop.
So if a person goes 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 hours, 2 days, doesn't call, you just had a date with them, you hadn't heard from them in days, what do? You assume, oh, they're not interested. Oh, it's somebody else. Oh, whatever.
The stories, yo. I've lived this. The stories is crazy. Pay attention to what he says here.
And you think that then when they reach out, the best way to respond is to respond the way they handled you. But when you return the favor doing what to them, what they did to you, you're returning energy. And when you return energy, you become as petty as they are.
Say, man. Say, man. Buddy's preaching. I got a scripture, 2 scriptures I want to share with you at the end that addresses this very point and why we shouldn't move with matching energy. And what you do to me, I'm going to do back to you. Like, we've had that messed up for years, and we're going to get that settled.
He laughed and said, Doc, you tell the truth. I can't even hold you. He said, at the end of the day, if I express interest in a woman and I reach out to her and I text her and she waits an hour to text me back, I don't know why she did it. I said, exactly. I said, so it wouldn't be wise to assume why she didn't, correct? He said, yes, sir. He said, so if I'm available to text back, I'll text back immediately. I said, so what if you text back immediately and she waits 3 hours? What do you do? He said, in the past, I've just waited 3 hours and text her back. I'll be honest. I said, that's what most people do. I said, this is the problem that I have with the red pill community. We give that kind of men, rather, give that kind of advice to other men. Hey, now, she texts you back an hour later, you text back an hour later. Or women get the same advice. If he texts you 2 hours later, you wait 2 hours. It's immature. It's silly. Because the reality is you're making assumptions on why it took them so long to respond back. Now, I want to be clear
Talk
here.
your crap, dude.
Everybody's not busy.
True.
The best thing that a man can do is not act busy, but be busy. Because when a man is busy, he doesn't have to put on an act. He can pull out his itinerary. His itinerary speaks to how available he is. But this notion of a man acting like he's busy is a put on. And not only is it a put on, but most women can read that energy. So the worst thing a man can do is try to mimic a woman's slow texting or slow calling and try to just make that up when he really has nothing genuinely to do. And I said, the worst thing a woman can do is to think that if she pulls along a man by slow texting him, slow responding to him, slow calling him, when he's showing all of this effort and energy and being very straightforward with you, that it's going to pull him forward to you. That's an illusion. The only man that is attracted by that is a broken one, a desperate one. The only woman that is attracted by a man intentionally stringing her along, not responding to her timely, not calling to her timely on purpose, is a broken man or a woman. Let me tell you about heal people. You're not going to do that to heal people and expect them to keep coming back for more. He said, wow, Doc, you're on it. I said, I know.
I also believe that healed people recognize the positionings that the people they're dealing with are in. I think that too. So I don't disagree with anything that he said. I also think that healed people have a recognition of where that other person is to manage their expectations on whether or not this person has a capacity to do what you ultimately may want or expect or hope for them to do. And it's communicated. If you really want that relationship, you really want to make a connection work, you're going to have to put effort in building a sense of communication skills in order to see that thing through. Assumptions can't fly, and assumptions are easily the biggest things that kill relationships today. So you can't assume because she didn't text back in an appropriate time that you wanted, or because certain things, like, you can't just assume that, man. You can't assume that. You need to be willing to have a conversation. And based on the answer and information you're granted from a sincere position, gives you the best opportunity to make a decision on what you want to do from there. And ask yourself, do I have the capacity to handle what is in front of me? And if I don't, I just need to move on.
I said, here's the third and final reason why a lot of people are single, because they're dishonest. There's a lot of dishonesty walking around. Listen, if you don't like people, the best thing you can do is be honest about it.
Hello.
The best thing you can do is just be straightforward about not liking people and not wasting their time or yours. I said, do you know what a roster is? They started laughing. I said, of course you do, right? They said, yes, sir. I said, so many people have rosters that are filled with players that will never get on the court. You know what I mean? He started laughing and said, absolutely. I said, as a former basketball player, let me tell you something. If I were to have a roster, which I don't, but if I were to have a roster, the way I was taught playing basketball is you only choose people who are capable of being on the court. So if I choose somebody to be on my roster, I am implying that they have a chance to eventually play in the game. So tell me why in modern dating, we have people who walk around with rosters, People on your roster that you know will never see the playing field, but you put them there. Why do you think that's the case? She replied and said, to be honest with you, Doc, I've done it. She said, I've done it because, hopefully maybe they'll come around or express serious interest later. Sometimes I do it to have people to talk to or things to do. I said, I appreciate your honesty. I said, a lot of people are doing this and they think having a roster is cute, but the reality is it only works for broken people. Healed people don't want to be on anybody's roster.
And might I add that anytime you're walking around, let me go full screen for this, because I want you, me and you, right? Me and you, just talking, me and you. Anytime that you have a roster, you're literally looking for an early exit with the person that you're dealing with, because it's always on a just in case basis, just in case they fall through, just in case things don't work out. I got a safety net. I'm not completely rejected because I got all these other people that are giving me time and attention. And what you do is you create an early exit, so you're not even able to be present in that relationship. So you almost get into a rhythm of looking for something wrong about this person, just looking for a reason to leave. So you're never really fully there in the first place.
Healed people aren't interested in sitting on the bench. Most of us, we expect to start. They started laughing. I said, so people are single because they're passive aggressive. They don't want to be honest about their expectations or needs. They're immature. Instead of setting boundaries about those expectations or needs, they make assumptions and then, try to return the favor doing tit for tat. And that leaves you single. And if not that, then they're dishonest. They build a roster of people that they'll never be interested in and then come to me and say, I can't find anybody.
I want to bring some scripture to some of this context that he suggests. And I want to first bring your attention to Proverbs 24, verse 29. Do not say, I'll do to them as they have done to me. I'll pay them back for what they did. This is Bible here. This golden rule that we've tried to create on our own. I'm just going to do to you as you do to me. Everybody tried to make that the golden rule, the real golden rule, which again stems from biblical precedents. Okay. This is outside of Proverbs 24:29. Come with me to Matthew 22, because this is still Bible. This is still Bible. I want y'all to see this. This is the greatest commandment that Jesus gives in the scriptures. Hearing that Jesus has silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees get together, one of them and the expert in law, tested them with this question: teacher, was the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and prophets hang on these two commandments. The golden rule isn't to treat others as you're treated. It's to treat others as you want to be treated. This, again, stems from the Old Testament law. Let me be a little bit of a Bible nerd here for a second, okay? Because in the Old Testament law, the Mosaic law, all these laws that create such a perfect, harmonized community that separates Israel from the nations among them, to see that God is present, God is real, and what he can do through Israel, he can do through all these other nations that are greater than Israel. And all these laws that we see in the Old Testament, I want you to catch this: the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. All these different descriptions of what you do to one person, they're going to come back around and do to you. It wasn't for the sake of matching and reciprocating energy. I'm going to do to you what you do to me. No, it got you to think, I wouldn't want this person coming to take my belongings, so maybe I shouldn't go take theirs. I don't want this person to knock my tooth out and have me walking around looking like a snaggle tooth. So maybe I shouldn't do that to them. And so it would put you in a process for you to consider what you're going to do. And it would be in anything, in the midst of anger, in the midst of grief, in the midst of anything, you really wanted to take a second and think about it, because you knew by law that they were going to come back around and do it to you in some form or fashion. So we don't want to move off of matched energy, y'all. That's not the move. Instead, I want to treat other people as I myself would like to be treated. And how I treat others is a direct reflection of how I feel and think of myself. And here's the temperature you really want to say. Here's the third scripture. 1 Corinthians 13 is where you really want to set your temperature. We talk about this all the time over here on this channel. None of this description of love. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. None of this, y'all, is predicated on whether or not somebody does this to me first. This is a love that I'm called to live by as a believer. So if this is a love I'm called to live by as a believer, then it's never going to be determined on what you do or don't do for me that causes me to move at this space of love. And the people that receive it and reciprocate it reveal that these people get it. It reveals that person gets it, and this is a relationship that's going to go a long way. We are called to move at a different level, and we can't play around with this whole idea of, man, if she don't text back in this amount of hours and this amount of time, then I'm gonna just do the same to her. Like, nah, we want to lead in love. And this love is greater, so much greater. So here's the last verse I want to bring to you too, in terms of dealing with the assumption part. Because again, all of this is biblical, y'all. All of this is biblical. Check out Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, though it cost all you have, get understanding. Here's another verse in Proverbs as well. Proverbs 3, blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding. And so, of course, in context, this talks about godly wisdom. This talks about the scriptures, all these things. But let me take that and imply it to the relationship aspect of things. When you get understanding on something and you get clarity on something, that brings a lot of joy and happiness to your life, because you're no longer running with stories of what could be or what you think it is. Because a lot of times the stories we tell ourselves aren't actually backed up by truth. So when we get an understanding, we're like, oh, this is what it really was about. So now I'm at peace, and I'm able to navigate better. And I got a lot of joy about it too. So instead of assuming, man, this person isn't interested in me, man, they must not care, they're not responding, I just want you to consider people are dealing with a lot. You have no idea what's going on behind that phone that caused that person to not touch their phone. Yes, I get it. You hear the stats.
Hey, people touch their phone multiple times a day. Average person 150 times a day.
Yep, 1000%. And let's manage our expectations when we first meet people. Why is it that you think you need to be their priority and you just met them 2 days ago? In what world? You just met them 2 weeks ago. In what world? Why is that an expectation? I don't mean to cook you. I'm just saying, why is that the expectation? Instead of blowing up and getting mad and trying to return the energy, you don't want to talk to me, I don't want to talk to you. Let's move with some love here and get some understanding there, because it could be something completely different than what you're thinking. And you have to be honest about what you're looking for and not lie to yourself in order to make some room for somebody who you don't even like. And that's not going to do nothing but make you frustrated, because there's nothing that person can do that will actually bring you a sense of joy, satisfaction, anything. So consider that. Ponder on these things as you navigate in your relationships, as we're dedicated to building healthy, happy, whole, and biblical relationships in this direction. If you like this kind of content, all right, be sure to subscribe, like this video, share it with a friend, share it with somebody who also may be able to relate with some of the signs of what may keep you single. And until our next conversation, be easy and be breezy, my friend. Hey, peace.